Hey everyone, welcome to The Field Between. My name is Ahmed.
And I'm Yasmin.
We got a special episode for you today. The kids love it. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Nice.
Very nice.
We got a new setup. I made a little Field Between soundboard.
Ahmed's been alluding to this all day, so this is the reveal. Why am I getting booed? That's rude as hell. That's what happens when you're at the mercy of the other person editing and doing sound.
You had absolutely no input on this soundboard.
I did not.
So I guess as we go, you'll discover what I've loaded here. Okay, let me pull up my notes.
First, we wanted to say continued Ramadan Mubarak, everyone, now that we're in Ramadan.
Oh, yeah. Ramadan Mubarak.
It started for most people on Monday, for a couple people Tuesday, so we're coming up on almost a week now.
Yeah. Wow. Hope everyone's feeling spiritually fulfilled.
Yeah. And we'll try and keep the Ramadan vibes in mind as we go throughout today's episode.
Yeah.
The spirit of kindness.
May Allah awaken the people.
Yeah. That's so true, actually.
You pre-prepped that?
Yeah.
All right. Go easy with
During
these, buddy.
Ramadan. It's appropriate. Okay.
It is. It's a good fit.
So I have some items, but you do as well, don't you?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Okay, well, I've got a few.
Okay.
TikTok ban.
Oh, should we give a little preview first of what we're talking about today?
Oh, Shaun King.
Yeah, Shaun King took Shahada. He converted to Islam, so we'll be talking about that.
Yeah.
TikTok ban hit me.
Well, did you see that they are trying to...
I did. I think it's so ridiculous.
And it's kind of something that they've been trying to do for a while. Under the guise of like privacy protection stuff and China spying on people and having our data. But it's, I think, because of Israel also now, like it seems like it's kind of come back.
That's what people have been saying on people on like Twitter have been saying like that they think that the U.S. is trying to ban it because a lot of people learn about Palestine, a lot of young people through TikTok, which I think there might be something to. I think it's also just this weird like demonization of China. Like I'm sure TikTok steals everyone's data, but so does Facebook, so does Instagram. Like it's not uniquely bad. I don't really get it.
Yeah, like why is it bad if just another
yeah,
thing
I know
has
that they're
my address or email,
exactly.
I'm already getting flooded with like so much spam email on a daily basis and texts.
As soon as I mention something, I get Instagram ads for it. So yeah. And I know that there are places like the European Union that have much better regulation. And it'd be one thing if we had better regulation overall, I wish we did, but to single out like a single social media company doesn't make sense.
That's weird. But then also, I just want to go back to like the whole, it being kind of at the behest of another country. Like now the Democrats are arguably doing something that is really unpopular with the demographic that they need to win over, but they're doing it because Israel's just like people are.
Wind back. The argument is not just it's because it's pro-Palestine; it's because Israel wants the U.S. to. Is there actual evidence for that? I haven't heard anything like that.
I think a lot of like pro-Israeli groups have just been pushing to get rid of TikTok because remember a while ago there was either that tweet or that news story that was talking about how. When teens spend a certain amount of time on TikTok, they become 18% more pro-Palestinian or anti-Semitic or something like that. It was so stupid. Yeah. So I do feel like there is a concerted effort to have it banned. And now one of the arguments being made is that, yes, it is anti-Semitic because they're saying that it is prioritizing and promoting pro-Palestine content over pro-Israel content.
When that's just what's popular with the young people.
Exactly, right. Like, they're pointing to the platform instead of
I wonder if that is actually the main thing, though, or if it's more like a demonization of China. But it's interesting.
I think it's both.
Yeah,
like,
I guess it's both.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, so that's happening. But Nancy Pelosi, I don't know if you saw this, had this fucking fire moment. Just absolute heat. Talking about it.
This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make TikTok better. Tic-tac-toe. A winner.
What?
Isn't that heat?
I don't fully understand.
Doesn't that just like give geriatric like everyone who's voting on this is just so out of touch? It's like who thought that was like a cool tagline to add on to the end and really emphasize the point.
Yeah.
Like, do you think she felt cool
I think so.
saying
I
that you
saw
think
the
she felt
winner
good about
clip,
that?
but sorry?
I said, do you think she felt good about that?
Maybe. I saw
Yeah.
the winner clip. I didn't see the full clip before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. Anyway, so there was that. Another Boeing nosedive.
You're
I think there
obsessed
have
with
been like
these.
5 this month. I will say I've been thinking about this earlier because I first brought it up like a while ago on the podcast, and I was just like, I'm getting concerned about flying, and you're like, I don't know.
It's statistically a lot safer to fly than it is to drive.
But
That's still the
point,
case.
My point was that because of deregulation, both the
getting
airlines and the manufacturers are less safe than before, and I think that's true. But there was a scary thing. I saw a video earlier of a guy, like so like there was a plane that was flying from like New Zealand to somewhere in Australia, and it took a nosedive suddenly.
Everyone was okay though. That's
Some
terrifying.
people got hurt.
Yeah.
It did not crash, like they didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
But because of a technical malfunction, the plane took a nosedive suddenly, and like I think people were just like thrown to the
Scary.
ceiling of the plane.
I've seen a lot of commentary of people like actually looking up now their plane model, which is kind of
They're
crazy.
like trying to filter out. I think Kayak or one of the company's price line just put up like a plane filter so you could filter out the certain Boeing.
You should not have to do that.
No, you shouldn't. But yeah, it was a video of a guy who thought he was gonna die and was filming and saying goodbye to like his mom or something. I don't know, man. These planes. I think I was on that early.
You were.
And I was right. What else happened? There was the Norman Finkelstein Destiny debate. I've been seeing clips, but I think the entire debate is like 4 hours long. So I really have to find a day when I'm doing nothing else.
Who was he debating?
So some Destiny's like some fucking like
leftist.
Not even leftist. He goes. I think his name is Omni-liberal on Twitter.
Okay.
And I honestly could not tell you why he's famous. I think he was just got a following, tweeting about progressive stuff and having hot takes on shit, and like, but in the lead up to this, I've been seeing a lot more of his clips, and especially since October 7th, because he's been tweeting a lot about that and like just the worst stuff you could imagine. Like he is an absolute Zionist like monster.
So Norman Finkelstein just debated some like Twitter guy?
Yeah,
that's
like,
kind of silly.
So Lex Friedman, who's a kind of a tech dude who's like friends with Elon Musk and does research at MIT, supposedly, has this really popular podcast where he has a lot of these like, again, people like Elon Musk or like Peter Thiel, like those sorts of people on his podcast. And he's like, let me talk to them because talking is the way to fix all of our issues and blah, blah, blah. And I really believe in AI. And so he organized this debate with Norman Finkelstein and Destiny, and it was it seems like it was a disaster for Destiny. I'm gonna try to play a clip here, but I don't know if it'll let me, and if it doesn't, I'll slide it in. Bummer. Yeah, for some reason, once we have this set up, the clips online just don't play. So I'll have to figure that out. Anyway, it's just Norman Finkelstein constantly telling, anytime Destiny tries to say something. So it's a double debate. So it's Norman Finkelstein and one other guy whose name I can't remember versus Destiny and then another guy whose name I can't remember. So they each had a debate partner. And anytime Destiny talked, Norman Finkelstein was just like, would you please shut up and like try to say something not imbecilic and not make yourself look like a moron and just
who watches
like,
this stuff? It sounds like a waste of time, honestly.
If
a guy's not like well versed in the topic, then
yeah, he just kind of like dog walked him the entire interview or the entire debate. And even when Finkelstein was just kind of berating Destiny, his debate partner was also like, you could just see in the video that he's having a hard time holding his laughter back. He's just like chuckling because I think they're all academics except for this Destiny guy who's just way out of his league. So anyway, I don't know why it's not letting me play that. It's a bummer. We saw in the news today, billions of cicadas are about to emerge once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
No, cicadas are scary, but they're not as bad as what are the bugs that are here that are everywhere? Lantern flies. Those are like the.
Well, we'll probably have just a nice mixture of both.
Cicadas and lantern flies.
But apparently, like,
yeah, I'd never like seen anything like that when we first moved here. There was like lantern flies like every time you would step on one by accident.
Yeah, they're pretty gross, and you see people just trying to futilely
Stomp
stomp as many of them as possible, and it's just like there's no point. I still maintain that it is actually, now with this whole TikTok thing, it's, you know, it is a anti-Chinese conspiracy. You know, on some level.
There is definitely something about what we term as an invasive species and what we don't. There's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like last year we heard what it was like the Chinese spy balloon, and then like, oh, you need to stop these lantern flies.
I don't think people were saying that the lantern
TikTok
flies were like
flies.
intentionally released by China, though. It was like,
no,
oh, they
I'm
came from China.
My guess, my theory, my conspiracy theory is that they were brought by the CIA to stoke anti-Chinese sentiment.
But I'm saying I feel like that would make more sense if what people were saying is like, oh, China deliberately planted these here.
I think that is what they're. I mean,
so they're implying.
It's
you
like
think?
they are Chinese lantern flies.
I see. Okay.
And I think it doesn't even have to be that strong of a connection. It just has to be, oh, these are Chinese lantern flies. Invasive. It's triggering my primal urge to just stomp on it and get rid of it. And
I see.
It's making me scared of China.
Interesting.
So anyway, so that's what we have to look forward to. 2 different broods of cicadas. Their timing is matched up or whatever. I guess it happens every 221 years. So
that's going to be wild.
It's a once in a lifetime experience.
Glad we get to witness it.
Looking forward to it.
What else is happening? Is it the equinox?
There's an eclipse next month.
An eclipse, my bad. That'll be cool. That'll be actually cool.
Yeah, I still need to take that day off. Keep forgetting. So that we can go to Cleveland and experience total
the marvelous land of Cleveland.
Huh?
Yes, the marvelous magical land of Cleveland. But apparently it's going to be a really good place to see it.
I was thinking Buffalo before, but it's twice the drive.
Yeah, Cleveland's close.
Yeah. So that'll be nice. The NCAA tournament continues, or not the ACC tournament. I don't know if you saw, but both of your universities played each other yesterday.
Who?
UNC and Pitt.
Really? Who won?
UNC.
That makes sense.
Who did you want to win?
UNC.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Pitt's a good basketball team.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, baby.
They were pretty highly ranked in the ACC.
Cool.
It was like, I think the top teams were, I can't remember the order, but it was like UNC, Duke, Virginia, and Pitt are the top teams. So, and now NC State surprisingly beat Virginia last night too.
Wait, does this mean that our schools will play each other?
So UNC and State play tonight.
Ah, that's cute. We got to keep tabs on that.
I kind of want to watch the game. I know we're going to go watch this movie with friends later, but
you can like have it up on your phone just to see.
So I'm thinking, at what time are we doing the movie?
I don't know when the movie actually starts, but we're going over there for iftar. Iftar is at 7:29, but I think we probably won't end up watching the movie until like 8:30ish. When's the game?
8:30.
So maybe you can convince people, but it might be hard.
If I can convince people to watch the movie earlier, then we can maybe end it at like 9 and then watch the game.
When will we watch the movie then?
No, end the movie at 9. So start the movie at like 7.
Oh, but I think one of our friends can't get there till after iftar. And she wants to watch the movie.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll have to watch it on my phone.
I'm sure it'll be recorded and we can watch it after, but it's not as exciting, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that UNC will win.
You think so?
Yeah.
So this is interesting because State is not a we'll end the sports segment soon, but State was not like highly ranked. It was not doing great in the ACC.
Wait, sorry. Is ACC just the normal like basketball?
It's the Atlantic Conference of teams. So when State last won a national championship, it also won the ACC tournament. And it also was not the team that was expected to win the tournament.
When was that?
1983.
Wow, so it would be a real big upside if we got there again.
So it's kind of the same thing where in that year, in 1983, they had this, they call it the
You're
Cinderella.
Such a Carolina boy. I love it. You know that.
They call it a Cinderella run because the lower ranked you are in your conference, the more games you have to play in order to advance to the championship. You
gotta prove your medal, kind of.
Right. So UNC was top ranked, so I think they didn't play in the first couple days of games, right? Like they So they're like fresher in this tournament, but State has had to play since day one of the tournament. And has had to knock off more teams.
Does that typically mean that they will then perform better? Like if you have been playing more recently?
No, if you've been playing more recently, your team's probably tired.
Oh, okay.
And they're playing every day. So they played they played Duke on Friday. Duke on Thursday. They upset Duke, they upset Virginia, and now they're in the championship. This is like for the ACC championship tonight.
Okay, so whoever wins this will advance to the championship.
No, whoever wins this tonight
wins the championship.
Wins the conference championship,
wow.
And then the national championship games start like next week.
Got it.
So this is just conference, but it's still a big deal because it's a competitive conference,
and because it hasn't happened since '83.
Right.
For those who don't have any context, so I went to UNC for my PhD and Ahmed went to NC State, which we're calling State here, for his undergrad. And in the triangle, there are 3 cities: Durham, Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill is more of a college town, but for this, we'll call it a city. And Raleigh. And Raleigh is where NC State is, and Durham is where Duke is, and then Chapel Hill is. So they're all...
I will say most people know about that basketball rivalry, especially between UNC and
Duke. And UNC
like,
have like a legendary. So I don't know nothing about sports, but just living and breathing in that area, you are aware of when there are games and stuff, because students will miss class, and there's excitement. So
so exciting stuff.
That is exciting. Well, I feel invested now.
It's gonna.
I kind of almost hope that State gets it, because it's a cool underdog moment.
It is an underdog moment, and again, it's like, wow, they've really upset a lot of teams, and they,
beating Duke is a big deal.
So that would be interesting, but it also be like a little bit of a heartbreak. I have not followed basketball or anything in a very long time, but I checked the score yesterday on the Virginia game, because I was fully expecting them to lose, and I was like, oh wow, they're in the championship. That's
okay.
Crazy.
I think I said this before in the podcast, but how long have we been together?
Since 2020.
It's what year is it now?
It's
24.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 years. Okay, so we haven't been together that long in the scheme of things, but this is literally the first year that I've been aware, since we moved to Pittsburgh, that Ahmed knows stuff about sports. I had no idea. I don't know where he was hiding this information, but he regularly checks things that I just did not know that was the thing that happened.
I keep a very cursory, I check in.
Yeah.
But I don't really follow.
That was more than I was aware of. And I've come home
that.
A couple times, you've been watching a sports game, and I've been like, huh. Yeah.
It's
always discovering stuff.
I'm interested. I'm also interested in a friend of mine has had a sports law podcast that I followed, and I thought I was really interested in that. He hasn't put out an episode in a while, which is sad, but yeah, it's an interesting world. Okay. I would like to move on
to our main topic,
to a regular segment. It's going to be real quick.
What?
Let me be clear. It's time for Fatwa Frenzy.
Okay.
Fatwa.
Oh my God, you're so excessive.
Allahu Akbar.
I love that you're just making all the former presidents say Muslim things.
Do you like that? That's the official intro for Fatwa
I would say, I
Frenzy.
wish I had known this would be a segment, because I would have brought a fatwa.
Oh, do you have one?
No, I didn't know it was a segment. But I'll bring one next time. I'll be in charge of Fatwa Frenzy next time.
If you have one, then
because I have a ton from teaching. So
yeah. If you have one, I'll definitely queue it up, or let me know, and we can play that intro now that we have an official intro.
Mm-hmm.
But I was randomly looking at a case, because after the Shaun King thing, I was trying to search on conversions to see if there was anything somewhat related to that we could relate to Shaun King's. Didn't find anything at all, but there was this case of a Christian who wanted to be executed in Andalusia. And
so this is during the time of Muslim rule in Spain.
Yes.
In Andalusia.
Yes. And I thought it was just interesting because I learned something from it that I did not know before. And I don't know if we'll see if you know. And yeah, so it's this case about a Christian who lived under Muslim rule in Spain who was asking to be executed because he wanted to be martyred. He wanted to die like Jesus. But he had not committed a crime. So So the judge was telling him no. In response to the judge's admonishment, the Christian explained that he would not in truth die, while his shib or likeness, a body that resembled his body, might perish. His real self would ascend to the heavens upon execution. Right? So that's like a thing that I think we've all heard before in relation with,
in terms of like bodily
in
reconstitution.
terms of Jesus, like, is that something that you grew up hearing too? It's like, oh, Jesus didn't actually die. Like,
but I don't understand what that would apply to like a lay person.
But that's what this guy is saying. That's what this guy is
telling.
telling.
Oh, the Christian is saying.
The Christian is telling the judge that he would not die.
Okay.
And that, he would be martyred, but he would not suffer any pain.
Because it would be
I think
he would still die, but like his spirit would go to God.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his real self would ascend to heavens upon the execution is what he's saying. The judge aimed to disprove this theory by having the Christian flogged. And thus the judge illustrated that the Christian could indeed suffer pain and likewise would suffer death. So he had him whipped and was like...
to make a point. Yeah,
exactly. He was just like, so how do you feel? Like, whose body's being hurt? And he's like, oh,
so
mine.
Petty.
Yeah. So what reading farther down here in the analysis of the case, this is what I found interesting. The Christian of the story lacks an essential element of the Cordoban voluntary martyrs, i.e., he did not insult Islam. The martyr's insistence that his true self would remain intact even while his likeness would perish arguably refer to the Quranic description of Jesus' death in the Quran, and it cites the surah and ayah, that Jesus himself did not die, but was someone else who resembled him. That insistence also suggests that his belief in the notion of doubles as conceptualized by the Ismailis, who conceived of doubles as a framework to understand the violent deaths of Shia imams.
Interesting.
So I didn't know that was like a concept that was...
in Ismailism? I honestly don't know much about Ismailism.
But if I'm reading this correctly, like it came from the Ismaili Shiis, right?
Yeah, I'm saying I don't know much about Ismailism. I know more about Jafri.
No, neither do I. But in the case analysis here, it's saying that's kind of...
That's also interesting to suggest that the Christian's idea even of Jesus is influenced by being in a Muslim majority context. I think that's like a fair analysis. That makes sense. Like kind of using that language of like, oh, the fact that my soul would ascend is maybe inspired by Islam is really interesting.
Do we know if that's a Christian concept at all as well, like before, pre-Islam?
Well, I mean, I think the Christians are pretty big on like Jesus died.
Like his body.
Like he was in pain.
They are very into his body being tortured.
The way that they kind of wind up with the Trinity is that he's both human and divine, like fully both. Yeah. So there was like a physical death, It wasn't like he was spared and then actually ascended.
Right. Yeah, the sacrifice, I guess, is a big part of it.
The Cordoba Caliphate is such a cool like time period and place. It overlapped a decent amount with the Abbasid Caliphates, who had these just two like incredible empires that people were traveling back and forth between like Cordoba and Baghdad. Mm-hmm. And there's still a ton of really amazing architecture in Spain from that time period.
Yeah. They definitely lost something. I've been
well, they still have it, but it's contextualized in really weird ways.
Yeah. I've been reading the Muqaddimah. And in like the prologue to the introduction to the forward, whatever, there's like so many like preambles to it.
In the translation you're reading,
Ibn Khaldun kind of talks a bunch of shit about Spaniards.
What does he say?
He just says
he's so close to Spain because he's in Tunisia, right?
I think for a while he was also in Andalusia.
Yeah.
So he's just talking about how after they overthrew like the Arabs and reconquered Spain, they or the Muslims and reconquered Spain, they just kind of like lost a sense of identity and became fond of humiliation and kind of whatever because being dominated and all this stuff. And essentially he's saying they don't have like a good way of understanding history and just kind of don't have much of an identity, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah.
The whole beginning part of the book is him just talking shit on different groups and how they retell history.
Good social science. I like that.
Yeah.
Today the like Cordoba Mosque, it's been remade into like a chapel, but like elements of the mosque are still there. Mm-hmm. I got a chance to visit. It feels very like tense and interesting because a lot of Muslim tourists go, but you're not like allowed to pray there. That's like the Spanish authorities will like kick you out if you try to like pray. Yeah, in like in a Muslim way. Yeah.
What is Wait, so is it like a church now? Is it being used?
It's weird because it still has all the old architecture and it's got really distinctive orange white like arches. But within that, there's like a little chapel. It's not a little chapel. It's pretty ornate, and I think that some things might still be held there. But I think actually it's interesting because I think I might be butchering this, but I think it was Abdurrahman who ordered that made. We can cut it if it's not. But the Muslim leader who initially ordered for that to be made was also reclaiming a church, so it's gone back and forth historically quite a bit. Yeah.
Wow, they should still keep that spirit.
Yeah, they should totally allow for both Muslims and Christians. I feel like that's the obvious thing to pray there.
Market.
Yeah. But I think that they have a lot of modern day anti-immigration sentiment against like Moroccan immigrants and stuff. So there's other reasons why they are not trying to show deference to that history.
Interesting.
But interesting. That's a really funny historical little. Yeah, it's an interesting fatwa.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because like he must have like I think often.
Well, sorry, it's part of Fatwa Frenzy. I don't know if this specifically counts as a fatwa because it's just like a legal case.
Yeah, that's actually more of like maybe like court proceedings. You're right.
There might have been a fatwa issued as part of this. I actually did not see.
No,
if that
that's
was
fine. It's just
it's
like a
case
different
brief.
type of like legal literature, I guess. I think you're right. Maybe it's more like kind of a recording of what happened in a court case. It's actually harder to find, so that's really cool.
Yeah, so we're just I'm using the term fatwa
like
frenzy
loosely. But what was I gonna say? I think often there was an idea in places that were very multi-religious, like Cordoba, that especially if you were Jewish, I'm not sure if you were Christian, but you could be like tried according to your own law. So this guy like really went out of his way to be tried in like a Sharia court or a fiqh court.
Yeah, no,
I guess because in his case it makes sense because he was trying to like attain martyrdom by being killed by non-Christians. But
yeah, I wonder why he didn't. Maybe it's in the case somewhere else, but I'm wondering why he didn't seek like a Christian judge.
Because he wanted to be killed by Muslims. He had to go through like a Muslim legal process. Like he wanted that it wouldn't make his martyrdom valid if Christians killed him. Yeah,
he wanted.
It's just like kind of silly but funny. It's like ironic that he was forced to use this legal system.
Then why not commit a crime though? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
guess the crime would be like a sin or something.
Maybe that's good thinking. Super interesting. That's a really random case.
Yeah.
Honestly, I might steal that from my class because that's just like a really funny example of like interreligious life. Like interreligious dialogue is probably not the right term, but yeah.
Yeah, just gaming the court system.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
That was good. Good intro song, baby.
Yeah. Do you like it?
I did. It was really silly, but it was funny.
Can I play it again? I'm so proud of it.
Sure.
Let me be clear. It's time for Fatwa Frenzy. Fatwa.
I feel like somehow it's spiritually right that Obama was a voice on this.
May Allah awaken the people.
Oh, there's Trump too. Wow. This is beautiful.
Allahu Akbar.
I wish you could see Ahmed right now. He looks so pure and joyous.
Dude, I love this soundboard.
We gotta bring this to the club, man. Do you think you could do a club remix? It's already kind of a club beat.
I just gotta. Yeah. I can, EQ it a bit more and turn up the bass. Okay, Shaun King.
Yes. Okay. So Shaun King is a activist, a person who, for years, has been trying to bring attention to a variety of issues, and he's been really vocal about Palestine, like constantly talking about it on social media platforms. I think he was actually kicked off
since October 7th, or like always.
I think he's always been decent on the issue, but he's been since October 7th particularly vocal.
Okay.
I think he was actually kicked off of Instagram for a bit. Because of his like pro-Palestine advocacy.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Could have been a manufactured crisis.
There's no way to know. And should I just introduce a little bit of the controversy around him historically? So he has been called out by a number. So he's Black, he's African American. He's been called out in particular by a number of Black feminist activists over the years for the way that he kind of does his work, for taking credit for other things, and then most insidiously for fundraising and for it not always being clear where the money goes. And so there's been
not just like a one-off.
There's been a couple of incidents of
multiple
him,
instances. I watched a rundown like yesterday, and someone pointed out like 10
Wow, that many?
instances of it's crazy.
Jeez, yeah. And I think for things that are pretty like intense, like a young black child dying and him
The
fundraising
Tamir
in their
Rice
name.
Yes,
He did this for
I think it was Tamir
Tamir
Rice,
Rice, yeah.
and he like called. If I'm wrong on this, I'll put in a clip that
the
corrects
beauty
me.
of editing.
But I am pretty sure it's the Tamir Rice murder, and he called Tamir Rice's mom to just give her condolences, etc. But recorded the conversation and put it out as like a podcast
Without
episode,
asking her?
Without asking.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
And I don't know if his podcast is monetized, but it's part of his overall like building an image, and he uses that to get speaking gigs and make money, whether directly or indirectly. And that was, like, it's fucked up.
I mean, that's pretty bad. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, so he's got this history. And then I think also I've noticed, though, a lot of people will just kind of share his stuff on Instagram who probably don't know that, obviously. And because like he just is such a popular account, like he's just the kind of go-to thing that people will share.
Yeah. He's very good at getting his content out there.
Yes. It's been his whole career, I guess.
But
because he's been around for a while.
He's been around for a while, but like I honestly can't tell you
what he does
or like why he's famous or why he's the guy people go to, because anytime I hear about Shaun King, I hear about people who are criticizing him. And
really? Because I hear kind of I think I've been privy to like two voices.
Yeah.
I definitely see people just kind of uncritically sharing him, including some people who are African American. So not as many, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can say just I've always heard the jokes about him that reference his not only like his light skinnedness, but also just the watering down of his politics, that he's someone who is worthy of critique, so that people call him like Talcum X.
Well, I think that's actually started up after his conversion.
No, people were calling him that before.
Oh, really? That's very funny.
Yeah. And then there's like
instead of Malcolm X's like talcum powder.
Right. So
I thought that was just a post-conversion Twitter joke. I didn't realize that had longer roots.
No, that's been around for a while. And then there are others that I can't remember. But he's every time I've heard of him, it's just been about what a grifter he is. Yeah.
And ever since I've seen, I can't remember, it's been years now, but ever since I've seen like black feminist critique online of him, I've stopped sharing stuff from him. I don't follow him, but if I see something from him, I'll try and find it from another source and then I'll
see if it's true.
Yeah. Then I'll like post it, but not from him directly, just out of respect, because it seems like enough people have called this out, but there's a pattern there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he converted, he took Shahada. He went with Omar Suleiman.
Yeah.
Who is like a celebrity imam who we've
talked of a big affair.
We've talked about him before, I think, right?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
I mean, in reference to the letter that was signed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could go on like a little sidebar rant about him, but he does some very good work. He's an imam in Texas. I forget where exactly. I think Dallas. He's done incredible work on the border in terms of like aiding migrants and thinking of the refugee crisis. He also, I think, has flip-flopped a little bit over the years politically, particularly when it comes to LGBTQ stuff. I guess I'm going on this rant. I'll just do it quickly. After like the Pulse shooting, he like was, on stage with queer groups, and then later said he regretted that. And then we covered on the podcast that there was this letter that came out over the summer where a number of imams, including him, signed on to a very like anti-queer letter. But now with all the Palestine stuff, and I should say he is Palestinian, and he's done incredible advocacy for the issue. But he is on stage again with lots of queer groups because they're fighting the fight. So that's him in a nutshell. But I mean, I still listen to his videos and Yakin. They're excellent for Ramadan. I have my misgivings about him, but he does some good work. He's complicated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you care about like queerness and religion, I think you're probably used to navigating those kind of complications. But he's a big deal. So it's not like Shaun King took Shahada in his local area. Where is he based out of? I don't know, but he definitely flew apparently to like take Shahada with Omar Suleiman.
Yeah, they made it into like almost a media event. Yeah, because there all these Instagram posts and things like that, and then immediately after they announced this iftar speaking tour that he's going on. That's ostensibly also a fundraiser for Gaza.
And so this is with it's specifically going to be with Shaun King and Khalid Beydoun, right? Those two are doing the tour together.
Yes, Khaled
Yeah.
Beydoun and Macklemore.
Is he gonna be on the tour?
Macklemore. So here's.
I did not know that.
So Macklemore was supposed to be on the tour. He was on the flyer. It was Shaun King's head, Macklemore's
I did not
head,
know Macklemore
Khaled
was supposed to be
Beydoun's
there.
head. And like yesterday,
He pulled.
Macklemore was like, he issued a tweet. It's like, I didn't know, like, I'll take this as a lesson, but I have since
Mashallah,
like,
what a pure heart. God bless
I'm like,
Macklemore.
yo, listen al ghaib. You know what I'm saying? Muad'Dib.
Oh my
The
god,
Mahdi.
some dude references there for those who are not familiar.
The quirked
But
up
for real,
white boy
like-
that we need to, take us to salvation, Macklemore. I
can't
am honestly
believe he has
shocked.
better ethics. That's insane.
I honestly was like, because part of me still, after the march in DC where Macklemore spoke, I was just like, he did a good job speaking. I was impressed, but I'm like, is this guy kind of taking advantage of a moment, aligning himself and blah blah blah, trying to be out there so he can put himself out there and make some money, blah blah blah. And here's a case where initially when I first saw him on the flyer, I was like, yeah, fuck this guy's whatever. He's got to know. And then I think people spoke up, and then he was like, oh, I actually had no clue. I'm not going to do
That's
this.
so real, man. Like, I feel like that's like the goal, right? Is for people to be like open to
That's great. Yeah.
like thoughtful critique and to like change
Yeah.
accordingly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. No, I think we've talked about this before, but it was so funny. We went to like the really large pro-Palestine protest in DC. When was that? Like
It was like November.
November. Yeah.
November 4th.
They were like
that.
really like drumming up like, we've got someone coming out, like they're coming, and it was like, who's it gonna be? Like, is it gonna be Drake? It was clear that
I thought it was going to be Drake for a second.
somehow it was clear that it was like a musician, I think, or like it was clear that it was like a pop culture figure.
Yeah, because Drake had just signed the ceasefire letter.
Right. And then like maybe like DJ Khaled will finally say something and stop being a coward, which of course he
still has
hasn't
not.
said anything. This man is such like a pathetic piece of a human
Yeah.
being. And then it was Macklemore, and everyone was like, all
What
right,
the fuck? Yeah.
like cool, like no one was mean, but it was just kind of like not like a clear, obvious connection,
Right.
Yeah, we should give a little background too on Khaled Beydoun. So Khaled Beydoun is an academic. He's actually a really strong academic. I like his work. He has an article about. So I think he's trained as a lawyer too.
Where is he?
Sorry,
Where?
where is he based? I don't remember. Let me look. That's a good question.
While you're doing that, I'm also going to look up how much tickets are to this event.
I think they're like $60 if I remember correctly. Okay, so Khaled Beydoun is a professor of law at Arizona State University.
Okay.
So he's a professor of law. That's interesting. I thought
That's you got to be like, I mean, law professor jobs are hard as
Really?
shit to come by. Yeah.
all professor jobs
Even
are
at
hard.
a university like Arizona.
Yeah. And actually, University of Arizona has decent like critical race theory programs and decent like stuff on immigration and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, he's got an article that I regularly cite. And of course, now I can't remember the name of it, but it's essentially like a history of legal categories of Muslims and how Islam played into people becoming naturalized citizens before the U.S. allowed for citizens technically that were not white or black. And so he has a really good overview of cases of like Yemenis in the 1930s, for example, some of whom argued that they were white, some of whom argued that they were black, and just kind of the complicated ways that Muslims from different backgrounds, he's focusing largely on Arabs, were able to try and like hack what was like, a system that made no sense in the U.S. where citizenship was tied to race and race was understood only on a binary. So the article's very good. He has some more popular books, which like I wouldn't cite as much, like American Islamophobia, but I think that they're still important and they do good work for the general public. So generally speaking, I am predisposed to like him. He is like a big public scholar person, and you always have to be like a little wary just because like when any one person becomes a spokesperson, that's a lot of, I think, pressure. But I think he's been great on Palestine. He's been, really, people share his stuff a lot. I think he's one of the people that people turn to like learn about the issue. I think it's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
There was one echo of this in the past of being a little bit griftery, but he apologized for that. After the Christchurch shooting, which I think was in New Zealand, there's a shooting at a mosque. A lot of people died. It was super upsetting. And Khaled Beydoun sold tickets for people to go visit.
Visit the church or New Zealand?
To visit the community where the shooting had happened. And people from that community were like, yo, how is that helpful to us? No one asked for you to come here.
Oh, sorry, not the church, Christ Church.
I think it's confusing because I
weird.
think the area
Okay,
is called
the
Christchurch.
masjid,
Yeah.
Sorry.
But he was like, oh, like come tour like the area. I don't know, build solidarity, whatever.
Yeah.
But literally this community was like, yo, that like makes no sense. We don't need you to come here. No one asked for that.
Yeah.
And he apologized and he took it back and all that. But that's the only instance I've seen in the past of him being a little bit griftery. So yeah.
Okay.
So I don't really know what to make of this collaboration.
So people are saying Shaun King's conversion is insincere.
I would definitely not say that. I wouldn't go on record saying that. I think no one knows the content of someone's heart.
Yeah.
And there is like a little bit of an Islamic prescription to sort of say like, hey, if you converted, you're a blank slate, and like the sins that you committed in the past don't count against you. He did create this iftar within like 24 hours of converting though. So yeah.
I'm trying to find the event page here. Sales ended. Let's see. People were saying that the tickets were going for like 160, 120, and then like there were some tickets that I guess were like you get to talk to him for like 1,600 or something like that.
And so the controversy was largely that like it's not clear where the money is going, right? Is it using the term fundraiser or is it just trying to raise awareness?
Let's see.
While he's looking for that, there's been a ton of like just kind of really funny jokes on Twitter with people like basically not saying his name because it's Ramadan and everyone's fasting and you're supposed to try extra hard not to backbite or gossip. And just sort of saying things along the lines of like that man who I won't say who he is, but like hope he has good intentions or, you know, whatever. Especially before the iftar thing dropped, like the 24-hour period before it dropped, people were largely like, hey, like I'm sure this is sincere. I hope it's sincere. Like here's an example or an excuse to do better leadership, better activism. But this definitely seems like some continuity.
Oh yeah. So one of the other, there's this story on Middle East Eye about some of the grifts that he's gone into. So he charged people $49.99 for like a life goals university. So it's kind of like Andrew Tate's Hustler University or Trump's Trump University, where he said he would teach people how to take charge of their lives. And he did not follow through on that. And the website was shut down. And yes, let's see. Yes. And I was right earlier. It was Tamir Rice who recorded this thing with the mom. So the griftar, they're calling it griftar. Public conversation announced uncensored iftar tour with a professor and author Khalid Baidoun, who is no stranger to controversy himself, with admission costing $60 and premium tickets costing up to $120. People began to tell others to not spend that much money. But I'm trying to see if it's going all to Gaza or raising awareness.
Well, I think that's
Human
the whole
Concern
deal.
International would go straight to Gaza. That's what they're
saying. What?
They're saying that the 100% of the money raised goes to charity.
But the deals are not saying what charity, and they're not saying
Human
how it's
Concern International.
Okay, but they're not saying how it's getting there. They're not promising to show receipts. Which I think for someone who has a history of like grifting.
And in the past, this guy has like taken to appear at things like this, and I don't know if it's the case here, but he's taken a flat fee and like a percentage of like what is raised, right, to be at these events and to go on these tours. For sure, he's not just going to do this tour for free, right? Like,
I mean, maybe his conversion
paid.
has changed him. We don't know that, but I think that it's fair to say that he owes more transparency to the public.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I also think it's like maybe wait a couple more days, like not immediately the day after you convert to be like, I'm going to be the guy who's going to go around and talk to people. But I don't know.
He already has been someone who has been the guy that people are turning to in Palestine, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's complicated. You're right. I've been struggling with this too, because we went to Jummah on Friday for the first time in like forever. And the khutbah was very much like framing Palestine as a Muslim issue.
Yeah. Don't wave the mic around.
And I feel like it's like a both end. Like not all Palestinians are Muslim. Obviously, there are Palestinian Christians who are at particular risk because their numbers are so small. And not everyone who cares about this issue is Muslim, but there does seem to be a lot of overlap, you know? So I don't know. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if what I'm saying is that if he had gone on this, I guess whether or not he converted to Islam is irrelevant about whether or not he goes on this tour, right? Like, so kind of objectively, he's not the person who should be doing it. But I guess what I'm saying, like the critique I was about to make is you can't just convert and then 24 hours later be like, I'm going to do an iftar fundraiser and I'm going to be the face of this issue. I'm like, dude, you've been Muslim for like how long?
Right. But I guess aside
but
from...
but I guess what I'm saying is like, that's not really the point either. The point is that this is someone who has a history of just grifts and being dishonest.
Right.
And not having really, in my mind, like accounted for any of that.
Yeah. No, it doesn't seem like he's ever apologized or, yeah. Yeah, and I guess it's also tricky, like from the Islamic perspective of like, do you assume that someone's starting over from a blank slate, and this is a person who, like, in terms of their good deeds, has really advocated for Palestine? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a couple tweets I wanted to read from Hanif Abdurraqib, who is a poet who I really love, and he doesn't even say Shaun King's name, which I thought was great. He says, anyway, I normally don't comment on this dude because so many of us know what it is and been knowing what it is, and it's just preaching to the choir, and I don't like sharing his stuff, but it goes without saying that this is maybe not the iftar community that will best serve you. There's a ticket option from one of these shows that costs $1,000, so I guess they're tiered.
Nice.
And I simply believe that if you were claiming to be doing this to aid Gaza, a good faith gesture would be letting someone know how much of that $1,000 is serving that purpose and how.
Yeah.
I could say more, of course. Others have said more. More has been said for years and years now. I'm simply attempting a measured and clear-headed response in the spirit of Ramadan.
Can you imagine a more... I just don't even have a word for it, but paying $1,000 to talk to Shaun King?
Yeah. Out of all the people you could spend $1,000
like I'm sure there are other people who you could talk to for that kind of money.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think? Do you think that this is getting like the proportionate backlash that it should?
Yeah, I think people are definitely in the right to critique. I think just given all the groundwork that's already, like the infrastructure that's already in place to serve Gaza, like you don't need to go to an iftar with someone who's questionable before they've even accounted for it, right? I'm not in the business of just sitting here and guessing whether or not his conversion is cynical or not, right? Like I hope he is on a path that feels good and, you know, that is spiritually fulfilling. But that doesn't mean he's the guy we have to give our money to, because there are a lot of organizations that do work in the US and then also directly in Palestine that you can donate to without having to go through someone whose history is a little shady.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally a fair take. This is also kind of an even larger issue, but so little aid is actually getting into Gaza right now, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't donate in the hopes that it will eventually. But I almost wonder in this interim, this like horrific interim in which like it doesn't seem like much is actually getting through, if it makes more sense to give to causes that are like shifting the needle within the U.S., like Palestine Legal or JVP.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'm not really sure what they do with the funds while they're not able to get aid across the border, and if there are organizations that are able to, even in times like this, because some level of aid is getting in, but not a lot. Yeah, a slight aside actually is that they just bombed the last UNRWA distribution center. So it may be the end of UNRWA there, and also the U.S. is airdropping aid, this would be almost parody if it wasn't such a horrific situation, but has fallen and killed people because they're like something went wrong with like the parachutes or something, and so and now the U.S. is doing this like farcical thing where they're like, we're going to build a pier and we're going to bring in aid that way, and you're just like, just let the fucking trucks across the border.
There's literally, if you
Tell
see these
Israel
pictures
to stop sending trucks
of
back.
thousands of trucks that are waiting. It's actually like
Miles
disgusting.
long.
Yeah.
And Israel is like looking at the trucks one by one, and if there's a single thing that they're like, we don't want this here.
No, they're intentionally not letting them in. Yeah.
No, but they're like
under the
to
guise
keep up
of
the guys.
yeah.
Like they're saying we're inspecting the aid trucks, but everything is manually inspected, and then their processes, if they find one little thing that they're just like, we don't like this. It could be a syringe to like put, you know, for medicine or something like that. They send that truck all the way to the back of the line. And so you can see how inefficient that would be.
I mean, aren't like less trucks getting into Gaza now than before the war?
Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it's a very small amount, and they've also, in essence, just weaponized humanitarian aid, because now food is so scarce in Gaza that when there is aid distribution, everyone's trying to go to get something as simple as a bag of flour. Inevitably, because people are all clamoring for, a very scarce amount of food, there's chaos. And I would even say, like, the chaos is almost entirely caused and manufactured by Israel, because they're in the air taking this aerial footage and then shooting down at them. So they're causing chaos. They're using these moments as opportunities to cause chaos, which they then say is actually, no, these people are savages, and that's why we had to shoot at them. So anyway, so that, back to kind of the main point is that, I'm sure your money is going to be spent eventually by some of these organizations, because it's going to be very costly to, I guess, do things like rebuild and like, make sure that people are cared for medically and all that stuff. So I wouldn't, I know you weren't saying this, but I wouldn't go so far as to say, like, don't donate to these organizations, or they don't know how to use your money, or it's just going to sit there and do nothing.
Oh, I'm definitely not saying that. Yeah. No, though I honestly don't know that you can know if it's going to be used, or if there will be, like, when aid is getting in and like at a better rate, if there will be things that are more productive to donate to. I have no idea, but
I would say it's probably still a good thing to do, because they'll definitely
certainly
need
we
that
feel
money. They'll
confident
have to ramp up their efforts very soon.
I think certainly we feel confident saying that this is not the right way to donate.
That's true. Yes.
Through this
so
iftar.
I doubt anyone who listens is gonna be paying $1,000 to talk to Shaun King, but if you were, put down your $1,000, and actually what you can do is just send it to us and then we'll pay Shaun King to come on the podcast.
Wow.
He could clear the air.
Yeah.
Field
this could
between
be his big
Shaun King
opportunity to come clean.
online.
Yeah. I saw
It's all about round-the-clock sex.
Oh, oops. That wasn't the right one. What was I trying to do?
It's all about round-the-clock sex. It's all about gay bathhouses.
Sorry. Hold on.
These are not Ramadan friendly.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Well, now I kind of want to hear which one you thought intersected well with that.
I was going to say...
It's all about gay bathhouses.
No. I have a boo here. I was going to boo Shaun King.
Oh, okay. There you go. We got there. There's another tweet that I liked from Assad, which is, how long until Macklemore takes Shahada, do you think?
Well, so I'd seen that one too, and because this was when he was still on the flyer, and so people maybe were speculating that he's also a grifter who's going to, use his prominence or like recently earned favor with the Muslim community to convert and like exploit that as a market. But now I'm just like, maybe he's not. Again,
maybe he could still convert.
He's like the quirked up white boy who's going to just lead us
from Dune.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't have to convert. He knows that the religion is
true,
false in Dune.
Oh, okay, but in the real world, maybe he could convert.
Yeah, sorry.
And just
In the real world, the religion is not false. It's the truth. But in Dune world, I think he's skeptical of the religion.
But I think by the end, my read was that he wasn't. He just
maybe not. Oh yeah, he drank the. Oh man, spoilers, dude.
Yeah, some spoilers.
In the end, he.
There you go.
There we go.
We still gotta get that episode, but yeah, no, I think if he did convert, that would be really cute. Could just be another nice little white convert.
Yeah.
If you want to,
you know who else converted?
No pressure. Oh,
Lil Jon.
It's a rapper, yeah.
Lil Jon converted.
Yeah, in LA.
People have been contrasting the two with Shaun King and Lil Jon because they happen so quick, close to one another. But people are like, "Oh, this is the right way to do it," because he just went to like his local masjid.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like a celebrity imam or anything like that.
Yeah,
he looked so excited.
He did.
Did you hear him like recite the shahada? And all
did.
That?
Yeah. No, it was really cute.
There's something really sweet about it.
Yeah, and people have become with so many cute jokes, like the new songs he'll come up with.
Yeah.
Like from the window. I don't know.
To what?
I don't know.
No. Okay. Well, nice.
I was gonna say, and then I realized I was stealing someone else's joke, so I stopped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, lots of cuteness there.
Little John, come on the podcast.
Yeah. These are all good ideas.
Yeah. All right. Was there anything else to talk about with Shaun King? Were there other tweets that you had?
No, I'm trying to think. No, I think that's basically it.
I think the whole point is his sincerity is irrelevant.
I like that take. Yeah. That's not even the point. The point is that this is not a good place to put your money.
This is not a good place to put your money.
Yeah.
And maybe over time he will have redeemed himself.
But then do that work, because you're totally right.
work.
When you're new to any community, you should take your time doing the work to get integrated before you are up there on platforms. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dope. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy your non-Shaun King if
One of the 103. 103, Al. Yeah, that guy have a white baseball cap on?